Good morning and welcome to the Red Mic. Happy Wednesday. It's Hump Day. These Red Mic messages are leadership and life lessons I've picked up from 25 years as a public servant, 16 years as a youth football coach and scouting volunteer, and 10 years as a mediocre athlete with far more heart than actual physical ability. Today's Red Mic message. Let's go on a generational trip, shall we? Understanding the different generations at work. All right. Big topic. So big, in fact, that we're going to split it into 2 days. All credit where credit is due. I got this idea from a graphic I saw on LinkedIn, and I'll be honest with you, I cribbed heavily from it. Everything I read about it, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. So I was like, okay, let's talk about it. Because through my career, I've worked with people from all generations. Um, I've had family interactions with people from all generations. Um, so let's dive right in a little bit. Let's talk about the things that make the generations kind of tick. What are some of the traits that they all tend to share? Now, obviously, people in all of these generations, they can be wired completely different. It's no secret that you could have a baby boomer who was ahead of their time. You could have a millennial who acts more like a baby boomer or a Gen Xer. Um, Gen Z who might act like a Gen Xer. All of these different generations, they act differently, they think differently, but these are just general terms, general things that you can notice about the generations, and more often than not, they're going to be fairly accurate. I am not going to talk about Gen AI. That's the generation starting in around 2013. They're not in the workplace yet, really, so we're not going to talk about Gen AI. And besides, every time I hear the term Gen AI, it makes me think about Forrest Gump. Um, put those two things together in a Forrest Gump kind of accent, and you'll know what I'm talking about. So, all right, let's jump right in. Traits, core values, and how they work. Okay, baby boomers. Generally, it's accepted baby boomers were born between 46 and 64. Um, Interestingly enough, that's both my father and my sister in law. I mean, it's a big bunch of age. Now, baby boomers, of course, were named. They were the they were the generation that were born in the years after World War II. All these soldiers came home full of piss and vinegar, and they were ready to start a family, and they dove right in, and they started raising that family. So, baby boomers generally are optimistic, mentor focused, both having mentors but also serving as mentors. They're pretty resilient. They tend to value hard work, loyalty, financial security. Their work style is very goal oriented, and they like chains of command. They like clear hierarchies. Okay, here I am. I report to you, you report to them, et cetera, right? And generally they're not gonna go past that chain of command. They're not gonna jump steps unless unless the world is just on fire. So that's that's some generalizations about baby boomers. Gen X, that's me, Gen X, 1965 to 1980. Gen X, we're the last generation to not have remote controls on the TV. We're the last generation, for the most part, that we learned how to drive on a stick shift. Um, we were the latchkey kids. And why aren't the generations after us largely latchkey kids? Well, 1981, a little kid named Adam Walsh disappeared. Then there was a TV movie called Adam, and it scared the bejesus out of all the parents out there. And that's what, I mean, it's my opinion that that one touchstone event is why so many parents ever since have been helicopter parents hovering around their kids. All right, Gen X. Again, we're independent. We tend to be pretty resourceful because there weren't any parents around. I mean, We were the generation that you had to remind our parents, hey, where are your kids? It's late at night. Are your kids where they're supposed to be? There was actually an announcement that went on TV. It said it's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? Sometimes they didn't, and we were okay. We were the ones who were out roaming the neighborhoods all day long in the middle of the summer, and we didn't have water, we didn't have food, we didn't have cell phones. We were lucky if we had a key to our house, right? So, we're out roaming the neighborhood, and what'd you do if you got thirsty? You'd go knock on somebody's door and ask if you could get a drink out of their hose. If they weren't home, you got a drink out of their hose, you know? It's just who we were. Now, in the workplace, they want autonomy because they're used to going it alone. They like balance, they like efficiency. Their work style is very self reliant, it's very results focused, and they like people to be flexible. One of their least favorite things to hear in the workplace is, that's not my job. Oh, well, I don't care if it's not your job. Go do it. It needs to be done. Gen X. Millennials, they're the next group. They're the first people to grow up with the internet. They were born 1981 to 1996. Again, it was after the movie Adam, so a lot of helicopter parents, dealt with their millennial children like that. But they're very tech savvy. They collaborate well. It's where you started seeing a lot of the growing social consciousness. A lot of these millennials were children of the late hippie generation, right? So the people who were, late 60s into the early 70s who didn't get completely disillusioned by Watergate and whatnot, they raised kids who were a lot more socially conscious. They prioritize purpose, growth, teamwork. Their work style is very collaborative, but also tech enabled, and they are looking for continuous feedback. They just are. They want it. They're the kids that you push on the swing until they're tired of you pushing on the swing. They'll surprise you though. They'll get stuff done that you're just like, wow, how'd you do that? Well, we did this, and then we did this, and then we put these two things together. Okay, it's pretty inventive. You go, you Gen X, you're millennial with your tech wired mind. Last but not least, Gen Z. Both of my kids are Gen Zers. One was born in 97, the first year of Gen Z. One was born in 2001. They could not be more different, but they do both have a lot of these same qualities. Gen Z, they are the digital natives. They weren't just the first ones to try it, but they grew up. Everything they know is wired to the internet. They're very entrepreneurial. They embrace diversity. They really value individuality, but they dive right into that team dynamic, that whole, we're going to build this. It's not a melting pot, it's more of a stew kind of attitude, right? So they value individuality. They're very authentic. They want you to be authentic. They are very concerned about their mental health and your mental health. Is this good for you, right? Their work is very adaptable, tech-centric, and they thrive in flexible settings. I mean, think about coming out of the pandemic. How many Gen Zers out there are still like, yeah, I'm just fine working remote. I really don't want to work in the workplace anymore. I'll work wherever I need to, but I'm going to be flexible about it, right? So, in a nutshell, those are some, not all, and it's, again, very generalized, but defining traits, core values, and the work style of the different generations. Now, tomorrow, going to talk a little bit about their communications preferences, some of the things that are very beneficial about working with and whatnot with the different generations, and what are some of the leadership strategies you need to use with these folks. So I hope you'll join me again tomorrow. That's today's Red Mike message, Understanding Generations at Work, part one. Part two's tomorrow. I appreciate you being here. I really do. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, these red mic messages are for you. Thanks for being here. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow. I hope you'll give me a like, a follow, and a share. I'll see you tomorrow. And don't forget, life is short. Drink the bourbon.